Hanging in there. It's been a little bit of a breakneck pace. That's what you were just saying. Like run.
Yeah. And now that I'm not working, you know, I thought it would be, I'd have all this time on my hands, and it's like I look at my calendar and it's all filled up for all next week. I'm like, how did that happen?
Run harder is what that means.
That's right.
Run harder.
Right. So, you know, this next topic came up because of our last video that we were talking about, sort of about leading. What are you leading with? Yes. You know, what message are you sending out? Mm-hmm. And this really comes up for me because I feel, you know, when I was at the station, a lot of the millennials there, they were always kind of asking me like, social media, you know, how do you handle social media? How do you create a brand? And, you know, the one thing I want people to understand with this technology that we now have, and there's so many negatives to it, there's a lot of positives to it as well. But the one thing I don't think people understand is how easy it is now for this generation to create a brand based on themselves. And if you want to start your own business, how easy it is with this technology now. Because before you had your 9 to 5 and at 5 o'clock you went home and you couldn't be doing anything else on the side. Right. You know, there was no internet when we were kids. Now you can do a side job from, 6 to midnight if you want, just all online. And so I think that there is so much to offer with social media and the internet now that we didn't have when we were kids.
And you're saying it in a positive way, but what I'm thinking as you're talking is you're creating a brand whether you want to or not. So be aware of that someone is going to look and make decisions about you based on what you put out there. Yeah.
And this came up because, with my daughter, I'm looking at her social media and, she's taking 10,000 pictures and they all have filters on them. And then she erases them immediately because they're not good enough. And, and I try to tell her, and it's very hard to tell a 13-year-old that you need to be real. Like that, people want to see you. They don't want to see a filter. They don't want to see a pose. They don't want to see you in your bed with like your picture, naked or no shirt on, or, it's not who you really are. You're not sitting around in your house naked taking pictures on your bed.
Some people do, and I guess if that's what you're doing, then take that picture.
Right.
But you're talking about posing.
Right. Posing. And so I think what you really have, and what I keep telling people, and why it's so important that you really understand the message that you're putting out there, because this is what companies are using now to decide whether or not they're going to hire someone. Right. Schools are using it, colleges, to decide whether or not they're going to allow someone to get into their school. Future spouses and
in-laws, possible in-laws.
Right? They're not just Googling you, but they're looking at your social media to see who you are and what you're all about. And so I really think you have to be, I know this sounds aware, and I know this sounds a little maybe uneasy, but strategic about your social media.
Yeah, which is the strongest of the definition. Aware. It's like being aware that this is going to impact you, and then strategizing the way you want it to impact you. And certainly we're not judging. I hate to ever come from a judgmental place. You do you, but what we're talking about is everything we do in life has consequences. Everything, whether you like it or not. Everything we do has consequences. So even like when my kids were younger, or even, my son's 17 now, he was asking about tattoos. And I'm like, I think they're artistic. There's some that I really like. There's some that I really don't. I probably would never choose to have one just because my generation really didn't do a lot of tattoos. But I do see it as artistic. Some of them I think are beautiful. But I've always said to my kids, be strategic in where you place a tattoo, or be okay with the judgment that might come with it, because you might go to an employer who doesn't want a visible tattoo on their employee at their law firm or wherever. And so don't do something that might prevent you or might give you a consequence that's unwanted. So again, it's just about being aware that these things are not going to go unnoticed. You're now creating a brand that somebody 5 years from now is going to go back and dig up and look up. Some of these employers, they want to know.
Yeah.
And they're going to look.
So what I've always done and led with in my social media, and I've always tried to be very authentic. So a tempered authentic is how I would say it. You know, I'm Suzanne, but I'm Suzanne, and I really think about the image that I am portraying when I put things on social media. Right. And what I try to tell people is that balance is so important. So it's fine to post a picture of you out drinking with your friends, you know, because you are a fun person and you like to do that.
That's
and I posted pictures of me out drinking with my friends. But every picture you have on your social media should not be you drinking with your friends. You know, so
unless you're trying to portray the image of an alcoholic.
Right. And so, you know, that should be one picture. You know, if you go and walk on the beach, you know, take a picture. That should be a picture of you. You know, you like to have a walk on the beach or go to the beach. Or if you have kids, you know, posting a picture of your kids or you with your kids is important. You know, and we always used to say, oh, the people that post all about their kids all the time. But that's my point. It's all about balance. You want to show all the sides of you, not just the one side, the crazy side.
Right.
You know, you don't have to be all business. It doesn't have to be all about, you know, everything that you do at work.
Right.
You want it to be some personal stuff too, but you want to temper it.
Right. And I love, that's our word of the day is balance.
Yeah, it is our word of the
definitely.
day. Yeah. And, you know, I will say that I think there are so many different platforms out there, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. And I will say that it's very important that you learn these different platforms and you learn how to use them. What you post on Facebook is probably not going to be the same content that you would post on Instagram or that you would post on Twitter. So I think it's very important if you are, you know, just new to these platforms that you start to learn about them. And you know, it's not just for millennials, you know, I think, or for young people. I think there's this misconception that if you're in your 40s or 50s that you shouldn't be on social media.
Right.
You didn't used to be on social media. I was like, if we're going to be doing this show, you got to get on Facebook at least.
Oh my gosh. And it's a lot of learning. And so I like what you're saying to people is don't be intimidated by it.
Don't be intimidated.
Do learn about it. I'm still just pretty much on Facebook, but I'm sure that I will
doing really well
branch
though. I'm very
out.
proud of you.
Yes, and I know how to like and unlike and
right.
But you know, you have to learn, and you have to learn what these avenues are about and who the audience is and which ones are safe to kind of be a little more risky and the ones that you need to be a little more conservative.
Right. Yeah, and I post very different content on my Facebook page than I post on Instagram. I think Instagram stories is another very good way for you to kind of tell a story throughout your day, and that's what I use mine for, like what I'm doing throughout the day so people can kind of see that. There's a couple of people that if you really want to learn more about branding with social media and how to do that, Gary Vaynerchuk, Gary V, his books, Crush It and Crushing It. Yeah. So the Crush It came out several years ago. Crushing It is his newest one. And if you are just starting out or really need some help with how do I start to use these platforms in a way that can help me with my personal brand and my business brand, you really should start listening to his podcast and picking up some of his books because he really has some great advice on there as well. But you had said that we did an episode on social media with her daughter, and we did more about like
the difficulties
and how to kind of, if you're having some addiction issues with social media, how to kind of take a step back from that, which I think is a whole nother thing. But if you want to go take a look at that episode, it was probably 10 episodes ago where we had Hannah on, and she had some really great advice coming from, a 19-year-old about you know, what social media is like for that generation.
Right. And really what we were talking about before that kind of led us to do this video is, what are you leading with? And so this is all, there's no way to kind of separate all this out, but you know, first part of this video kind of talking about branding and marketing and how you want to lead with, but then the other side of this is self-esteem, being your genuine self, and also, you know, can you be vulnerable? Can you really show who you are? Because that's really the underbelly of this, right? Is that all these filters are about covering up and making myself cute and making myself perfect. And, you know, like you're saying with your daughter, deleting it 30 times. And so what I'm really wanting to challenge us is really taking a step back and what do I want to lead with? Like I remember being in my 20s and saying, and my mom, who's, you know, a therapist and wonderful, and I kept picking the wrong guys or attracting the wrong guys. And my mom saying, well, what are you leading with? And I really wasn't even aware what I was leading with. And when we sat down and talked about it, one of the things I was leading with was, I got this.
Yeah.
You know,
I'm strong. I don't need anybody.
I don't need a man.
Right.
You know, and so what I kept attracting was the guy that was like, oh, goody. I don't have to do anything for her. I don't have to pump her gas or hold a door for her.
She's going to take care of me.
She's got her. Yeah, exactly. Literally. That's what I ended up with. So really, you know, I'm really just watching myself when I went to happy hour, watching, you know, was I independent? Was I got it? Or was I like, oh, could you help me with this? And what was I leading with? What are we leading with in social media? Are we leading with our bodies? Are we leading with our mind? Are we leading with our accomplishments? Like, wow, wouldn't that be great to see somebody's site that has, like you're saying, pictures of you know, scuba diving, pictures of all their accomplishments, their new car, their school that they attend, them in class, or their new job, all the parts of them that they're proud of, not just their body or 50 bathing suit shots. And that can be one of them, and that can be a part of it. But what are you leading with? Because let me make it clear, if you're leading with a part of yourself, you're going to attract somebody based on the part you're leading with.
Yeah, it's very interesting because, you know, at work, you know, a lot of the girls would say, well, you know, when I post a cute pic of me and all the girls together, it's when we get the most likes. But it's also when you get the most interesting comments, you know? And, you know, I've always said it's not always about getting the most likes, you know? And I think that that's so important that that you realize that this is about you telling your story, and you know, it's a story. Like some parts of it will resonate with people, some parts won't, but you want it to be all the story, that the whole part of you, not just the sexy part, or not just the work part, or not just the play part. You know, you want it to be kind of all of that. And the other thing that I think is really, there's a friend of mine, her name is Allison, and she started a blog, and she's The Modern Savvy on Instagram. Do you know Allison?
I do.
Okay. And just the other day, you know, she posted something on her Instagram stories that really resonated with me. She is always happy and positive, and she always is posting, like, you know, different places that she goes and different outfits that she's found, and
Love
where you can get like great shirts for, you know, a cheap price or whatever. And she puts together these awesome outfits.
Yes.
But the other day she posted something on her Instagram stories, and she said, you know, I debated about whether or not to post this, and it was her crying, talking into the camera.
Wow.
She was upset because she'd lost her dad, I guess, recently.
Wow.
And she was just feeling really sad that day. It was the Jewish holidays, I think, and she just missed her dad. You know, she really missed him, and it really made her think of him. And so this whole video was her crying and just saying, you know, to all those people out there who have lost someone, I really understand your pain, and I just want you to know that this is me too. You know, I'm not always happy. I'm not always, like, my life isn't perfect. And I just thought that was so vulnerable, and so it just really resonated with me, you know, and I think it resonated with a lot of people. That shows, and you don't want to be vulnerable you don't want to be crying every day. But
we can do a cry video every day,
right.
Suzanne.
We can totally do a cry video every day. But I think showing those sides lets people know that, you know, it really makes people connect with you, you know, and you want to show that on social media. You want people to see all sides of you, because people will connect with that.
And be human. And what I was thinking before you said that, and it still fits, is intention. What if you could become intentional with what you're posting, it will probably make a significant difference. Like maybe her intention was to be vulnerable in that moment, and to bring people in and say, I'm not different than you, I struggle too. So if we actually put thought and intention, we probably wouldn't do 40 different filters and whatever, because is the intention always to say, do you think I'm cute? Right. So the intention being, I want you to know that I'm athletic. I want you to know that I'm struggling today. I want you to know what's happening in my life work-wise, or what, so intention behind it is going to make a huge difference. It sounds like that was really powerful.
Yeah. And I mean, social media is powerful. Like, it is such a powerful tool. And I think if you can use it in a way that feels authentic, that really shows all sides of you, you will be amazed at how what you'll see coming back to you. It will also be, and you'll find this group of people that really are connecting with you, because when you lead with the sexy, when you lead with the not authentic, that is what you're going to get back on social media.
Unless that is your authentic side. Like, again, some people, they're very sexy, they're very flirtatious. If that's your authentic self, but that's why it's important to remember intention, because if that's your authentic self, then you can lead with that. And what is your intention? To let people know that I'm a flirter, to let people know that, this is who I am, is fine. But be clear.
That's what you're going to get back.
Be clear on your intention, and be clear on, people are going to respond in kind.
Yeah. So don't be surprised when you get creepy men leaving you comments.
Yeah, that might happen.
It's so funny because the girls at work, they used to say, oh, the creepy men leave us, but when we post those pictures, the creepy men leave us comments. And I'm like, well, that's kind of like what's going to happen.
Do you remember when I first started on Channel 12 with you, and I called you and I was like, I don't know what to do. Like we had just done one little post or something, and somebody wrote something just blew my doors off, and I was so freaked out. I was not used to that at all. I'm like, what did I do?
You just have to ignore them. You just have to ignore them. Yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah, creepy people might show up anyway.
That's
my point.
Definitely true. Yeah. That's definitely true. All right. Well, and if you have any questions about social media, leave them below or comments. I'd be happy to answer your questions. I know a lot about social media, but definitely get those books, Crush It and Crushing It by Gary Vee, if you want to learn about branding and kind of what you're putting out there and how to be strategic about that if you're looking at it from a business standpoint. And even if you're not looking at it from a business standpoint, it can affect every aspect of your life. Yeah.
Please do look at it
think
as
about
a business
it as
standpoint.
a professional thing, because it's, everyone's going to see it. The other thing is we are on podcasts, so don't forget to go and like our podcast, leave us a review, 5-star review. Check out our YouTube channel and please subscribe to that. And
send us questions,
show topics. We want to hear what you want us to talk about. All right. Thanks,
That's
Shannon.
good.
All right, we're going to get you on Instagram soon.
Oh, God.
Next up, Shannon's Instagram.
Terrifying.
All right,
Be very afraid.
Have a great day.
Bye.
Bye.